The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday night in October. Maria pressed the doorbell of the small white house again and again, her heart beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. Her little girl Luna was pressed against her side, both of them completely soaked from head to toe. Everything they owned was stuffed into two old shopping bags that were already falling apart from the rain. Maria's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she waited. She had walked for 2 hours in this storm, carrying Luna most of the way. When her little legs got too tired, they had nowhere else to go. This was their only hope. The porch light suddenly turned on, and Maria heard footsteps inside. The door opened slowly, and an older woman with kind eyes peeked out. This was Rosa, the lady Maria had seen a few times at the grocery store. Rosa always smiled and said hello, even when Maria could barely say hello back in English. "Oh my goodness," Rosa said, seeing the mother and daughter standing there like two lost souls. "What happened to you?" Maria tried to find the right words in English, but they came out all mixed up with her tears. "Please, I ran away from my husband. My little girl. She's scared. We have no place to go." Rosa looked at Maria's face and saw something that made her heart break. There were dark marks around Maria's eye, and her lip was swollen. Little Luna was holding onto her mother so tight, like she was afraid someone might take her away. Come in right now," Rosa said, opening the door wide. "You're both freezing." Maria hesitated for just a second. She had been taught not to bother people, not to ask for help. But Luna was shivering so hard, and they had been walking in the rain for so long. She took a deep breath and stepped inside. The house was warm and smelled like home cooking. Rosa quickly brought them towels and led them to the living room. "Sit down, please. Let me get you some dry clothes and something hot to drink." While Rosa hurried around getting blankets and making tea, Maria looked around the small living room. There were family photos everywhere, showing Rosa with children and grandchildren. The furniture was old but comfortable, and everything felt safe and peaceful. Luna hadn't said a word since they left their apartment. She just stayed close to her mother, watching everything with big, scared eyes. Maria gently stroked her daughter's wet hair and whispered to her in Spanish that everything would be okay now. Rosa came back with steaming cups of hot chocolate and some cookies. She had also brought a small dress that looked like it might fit. "Luna, this was my granddaughter's," she said softly. "She's about the same size as your little one." As they sipped the warm drinks, Maria felt her body slowly stop shaking. She hadn't realized how cold she had been. Luna took small sips of her hot chocolate and even managed a tiny smile. When Rosa showed her a stuffed bear, "What's your name?" "Sweetheart," Rosa asked Maria gently. "Maria," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "And this is Luna, my daughter." Rosa nodded and didn't push for more information. She could see that Maria was exhausted and scared. Instead, she just sat with them, making sure they felt safe and warm. After a while, Luna's eyes started to close. The stress and fear of the day had worn her out completely. Rosa noticed and quietly prepared the guest's bedroom, putting fresh sheets on the bed and leaving some clean clothes on the dresser. "You and Luna can sleep here tonight," Rosa said. "We'll figure everything else out tomorrow." Maria's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of relief and gratitude, not fear. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how to thank you enough." "You don't need to thank me," Rosa said. "Anyone would do the same thing." But Maria knew that wasn't true. She had been living in this neighborhood for almost 3 years, and Rosa was the only person who had ever really looked at her, really seen her as a human being who mattered. As Maria tucked Luna into the soft, clean bed, her daughter finally spoke her first words since they had run away. "Mama, are we safe now?" Maria kissed her forehead and pulled the blanket up to her chin. "Yes, my love, we're safe now." But even as she said those words, Maria's mind was racing with worry. What would happen tomorrow? What if her husband found them? What if Rosa changed her mind and asked them to leave? She had no money, no job, and nowhere else to turn. Rosa seemed to sense her fears. She sat down on the edge of the bed and spoke quietly. Maria, I want you to know that you and Luna are welcome here for as long as you need. I lived through some hard times myself once, and I know what it's like to feel like you have nowhere to go. Maria looked into Rosa's eyes and saw nothing but kindness and understanding. For the first time in months, she felt like maybe, just maybe, things might get better outside. The rain continued to fall, but inside Rosa's little house, two people who had been lost in the storm had finally found shelter. It was the beginning of a journey that would change all their lives in ways they couldn't even imagine yet. The next morning, Maria woke up to the smell of fresh coffee and something delicious cooking in the kitchen. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered everything that had happened the night before, and her heart started racing. Again, Luna was still sleeping peacefully beside her, curled up with the stuffed bear Rosa had given her. Maria quietly got dressed and walked to the kitchen, where she found Rosa making breakfast. Rosa smiled warmly when she saw her. Good morning. How did you sleep? Very good, thank you, Maria said, though the truth was she had barely slept at all. Every little sound had made her jump, worried that somehow her husband Diego might find them. Rosa poured her a cup of coffee and gestured for her to sit at the small kitchen table. Are you hungry? I made some eggs and toast. Maria nodded gratefully. She couldn't remember the last time someone had cooked for her or asked if she was hungry. At home, she was always the one doing everything for everyone else. As they sat together drinking coffee, Rosa spoke gently. Maria, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to, but if you want to talk, I'm here to listen. Maria stared into her coffee cup for a long time. Where could she even begin? How could she explain how her whole life had gone so wrong? I came to America 3 years ago, she finally said. I thought it would be different here. Better. Rosa waited patiently, not pushing her to say more. In my country, my family was very poor. My parents, they wanted me to have a better life. A man came to our village. He said he knew someone in America who wanted to marry a good woman, someone who would be a good wife and mother. Maria's voice got quieter as she continued. They showed me a picture of Diego. He looked nice, kind. The man said Diego had a good job, a nice house. He said I could learn English, maybe even go to school. Rosa poured more coffee and nodded encouragingly. When I first came here, Diego was different. He picked me up from the airport with flowers. He showed me the house, took me shopping for clothes. I thought maybe this really would be my chance for a new life. Maria paused and took a shaky breath. But after a few weeks, things started to change. He said I didn't need to learn English because he would take care of everything. He said American women were bad influences and I shouldn't talk to the neighbors. When I asked about school, he laughed and said I was being silly. She looked up at Rosa with tears in her eyes. I was so lonely. In my country, I had friends, family. Here, I knew nobody. Diego would go to work, and I would stay in the house all day with nobody to talk to. Rosa reached across the table and gently touched Maria's hand. That must have been so hard. When Luna was born, I thought maybe things would get better. Diego seemed happy about having a daughter, but as she got older, he got more and more angry about everything. Nothing I did was right. The house wasn't clean enough. The food wasn't good enough. Luna was too loud. Maria's voice became even quieter. He started drinking more. When he drank, he would yell and say terrible things. He would break things, punch the walls. Luna would hide in her room and cry. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. 2 nights ago, Luna spilled her juice at dinner. It was just an accident. She's only 5 years old. But Diego got so angry, he raised his hand like he was going to hit her. Rosa gasped softly. Oh, Maria. I stepped in front of Luna, and he hit me instead. But I saw the look in his eyes. Next time, it might be her. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let my little girl get hurt because of my mistakes. Those weren't your mistakes, Rosa said firmly. None of this is your fault. Maria looked surprised. But I chose to come here. I chose to marry him. You chose to try to build a better life. Rosa corrected her. That's not wrong. What he did to you, that's wrong. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Then Maria continued, that night, after Diego fell asleep, I packed whatever I could carry. I took Luna and we left. I didn't know where to go. I remembered you from the grocery store. You were always so nice to me, even when I couldn't speak English very well. You were the only person who ever really looked at me like I mattered. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. Of course you matter, Maria. You and Luna both matter so much. Just then, Luna appeared in the doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Rosa quickly wiped her tears and smiled brightly. Good morning, little princess. Are you hungry for some breakfast? Luna nodded and climbed into the chair next to her mother. As Rosa served her eggs and toast, Luna whispered to Maria in Spanish, asking if they were really safe here. Maria looked at Rosa, who was humming softly while she cooked and treating Luna like she was her own granddaughter. Yes, my love, Maria whispered back. I think we really are safe here. But even as she said it, Maria's mind was full of worry. She had no money, no job, and no legal papers that would let her stay in America. Diego would be looking for them, and Rosa had already done so much. How long could they really stay? Rosa seemed to read her thoughts. Maria, I want you to know something. My husband died 5 years ago, and this house has been too quiet ever since. Having you and Luna here, it makes me remember what it feels like to have a family again. You're not bothering me. You're helping me. For the first time since she had arrived in America, Maria felt like maybe she wasn't completely alone. Maybe there were good people in this world after all. Maybe there was hope for her and Luna to build a real life here. But she also knew that Rosa's kindness, as wonderful as it was, couldn't solve all their problems. There were still so many challenges ahead, so many things that could go wrong. The question was, would they be strong enough to face them together? 3 weeks had passed since that rainy night when Maria and Luna first knocked on Rosa's door. The little house had become a place of healing, where the sound of Luna's laughter was slowly replacing the silence that had filled these rooms for so long. Every morning, Maria would wake up early to help Rosa with breakfast and housework. She couldn't pay rent, but she could show her gratitude through actions. Rosa had tried to tell her she didn't need to do so much, but Maria insisted. Please, she would say, let me help. It makes me feel useful again. Luna was changing too. The scared, quiet little girl who had arrived that first night was starting to smile more. She had even started playing with Rosa's neighbors' children when they came to visit. Maria would watch from the window as Luna laughed and ran around the backyard, and her heart would feel lighter than it had in years. One afternoon, while Luna was napping, Rosa sat down with Maria at the kitchen table. She had a serious look on her face, but not an unkind one. Maria, I've been thinking about something, Rosa said gently. You're so smart, and your English is getting better every day. Have you ever thought about taking some classes? Maria looked surprised. Classes? But I need to take care of Luna and help you with the house, and there's a community center just a few blocks from here, Rosa interrupted with a smile. They have English classes 3 times a week in the evenings. Luna could come with you. They have childcare while the classes are going on. Maria felt a flutter of excitement in her chest, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Do you really think I could do it? I know you could do it, Rosa said firmly. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. That evening, Rosa walked with Maria and Luna to the community center. It was a cheerful building with colorful posters on the walls, and the sound of many different languages coming from various classrooms. Maria felt nervous as they approached the registration desk. The woman behind the desk was named Carmen, and she spoke both English and Spanish. When she heard Maria's story, her eyes filled with compassion. We have many women here who have been through similar situations, Carmen said kindly. You'll fit right in. Maria's first English class was both exciting and terrifying. There were 12 other students, mostly women, from countries all around the world. There was Fatima from Somalia, Anna from Guatemala, and May from Vietnam each had their own story, their own reasons for being there. The teacher, Mrs. Johnson, was patient and encouraging. "Don't worry about making mistakes," she told the class. "Mistakes are how we learn." While Maria was in class, Luna played with other children in the daycare room. For the first time since they had left Diego, Luna was around other kids her age, speaking English and Spanish and even learning a few words in other languages. After the first week of classes, Maria came home glowing with pride. "Rosa, I learned 20 new words today," she announced excitedly. Luna clapped her hands and asked her mama to teach her the new words too. But not everything was perfect. One evening, as Maria was walking home from class with Luna, she saw a familiar car driving slowly down the street. Her blood turned cold. It was Diego's blue sedan. She quickly picked up Luna and ducked behind a parked car, her heart pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. The car drove past without stopping, but Maria knew this meant Diego was looking for them. He was getting closer. That night, she told Rosa what had happened. Rosa listened carefully, then made a decision that surprised Maria. "Tomorrow, we're going to talk to someone at the community center about getting you some legal help," Rosa said firmly. "Legal help?" Maria asked, confused. "But I don't have money for a lawyer." "There are people who help women in situations like yours for free," Rosa explained. "Carmen mentioned it to me the other day. There's a legal aid office that specializes in helping immigrant women who are in dangerous situations." Maria felt scared but also hopeful. "Do you think they could really help us?" "I think we won't know unless we try," Rosa said. "And Maria, whatever happens, you and Luna always have a home here with me." The next day, Carmen introduced Maria to a lawyer named Lisa who worked with the legal aid office. Lisa was young but experienced, and she spoke to Maria with both kindness and confidence. "Maria, what you've been through is not okay," Lisa said. "But there are laws that can protect you and Luna. It won't be easy, but we can help you build a case." Lisa explained something called VAWA, a law that helped immigrant women who had been hurt by their spouses. "If we can prove what Diego did to you, you might be able to stay in America legally without needing him to sponsor you." Maria could hardly believe what she was hearing. "You mean Luna and I could stay here? We could build a real life?" "It's possible," Lisa said carefully, "but we'll need to document everything that happened. And Diego might fight back when he finds out what we're doing." That evening, Maria sat with Rosa and Luna in the living room. Luna was coloring while Rosa helped her with English words. Maria watched them together and realized something amazing had happened. This wasn't just a place where they were hiding anymore. This was starting to feel like home. "Rosa," Maria said quietly, "I want to try. I want to fight for Luna's future." Rosa smiled and squeezed her hand. "Then we'll fight together." Outside, the autumn leaves were falling, and winter was coming. But inside Rosa's warm house, surrounded by love and support, Maria felt stronger than she had ever felt before. For the first time since coming to America, she wasn't just surviving. She was beginning to believe that she and Luna might actually have a chance to truly live. The morning Maria decided to file the legal papers was the scariest day of her life. Since that rainy night she had knocked on Rosa's door. Her hands were shaking as she sat in Lisa's office, Luna coloring quietly in the corner while the adults talked about very serious things. "Maria, I want you to understand what this means," Lisa said gently. "Once we file these papers, Diego will know where you are. He'll know what you're trying to do. Things might get harder before they get better." Maria looked over at Luna, who was drawing a picture of a house with 3 stick figures in front of it. One tall figure with gray hair, one medium figure with long dark hair, and one small figure with pigtails. Their little family that had somehow formed in Rosa's house. "I have to do this," Maria said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Luna deserves a life where she doesn't have to be afraid." Lisa nodded and began filling out the forms. There were so many papers to sign, so many questions to answer. Maria had to tell her story over and over again, each time feeling like she was reliving those terrible months with Diego. 3 days after they filed the papers, Diego called Rosa's house. Maria was at her English class when the phone rang, and Rosa answered. "I know she's there." Diego's voice was angry on the other end. "You have no right to keep my wife and daughter from me." Rosa, who was much braver than her small size suggested, spoke calmly. "Maria and Luna are safe, and that's all that matters. If you want to talk to them, you can go through the lawyers. This is my family," Diego shouted. "You don't understand the situation." "I understand enough," Rosa said firmly, and hung up the phone. When Maria came home from class and heard what had happened, she started crying. "I'm so sorry. Rosa, I've brought all this trouble to your house." "You haven't brought trouble," Rosa said, putting her arms around Maria. "You've brought life to this house, and we're going to fight for that life." The next few weeks were like a roller coaster. Some days brought good news. Lisa said their case was strong, and the judge seemed to understand Maria's situation. Other days brought challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. Diego hired his own lawyer, a man who tried to make Maria look like a bad mother. He claimed that Maria had stolen Luna away from her father, that she was lying about everything that had happened. But something amazing started to happen. The community that Maria had become part of began to rally around her. Carmen from the community center organized other women from the English class to write letters to the court explaining how they had seen Maria grow stronger and more confident. Mrs. Johnson, her English teacher, wrote a letter to Maria is one of the most dedicated students I have ever taught, she wrote. She is clearly devoted to creating a better life for herself and her daughter. Even Rose's neighbors, who had watched Maria and Luna playing in the backyard and walking to school together, offered to testify about what good people they were. The most surprising support came from Dr. Martinez, Luna's new pediatrician. During a regular checkup, he had noticed how happy and healthy Luna seemed, how she clung to her mother, but also played freely when she felt safe. "This child has clearly been through some difficult times," Dr. Martinez told Lisa, "but she's thriving. Now, the bond between her and her mother is strong and healthy." Maria's English was getting so much better that she could understand most of what was happening in court. She watched as Lisa presented their case, showing the judge photos of Maria's injuries, records from the hospital, and testimonies from all the people who had come to support them. When it was Diego's turn to speak, Maria felt her old fear creeping back. He looked the same as always, neat and clean. Speaking confidently to people who didn't know him, he probably seemed like a perfectly normal man. But when the judge asked him direct questions about his behavior, something changed. His answers became angry and defensive. When asked why he had never encouraged Maria to learn English, he said, "She didn't need to learn. I took care of everything for her." And when she tried to make friends in the neighborhood, the judge asked, "American women are bad influences." Diego replied, "I was protecting her from them." Maria saw the judge's expression change. Even Luna's court-appointed advocate, a kind woman named Patricia who had spent time getting to know Luna, shook her head slightly. The hardest part was when Luna had to talk to Patricia about her feelings. Luna was so young, and Maria worried about putting her through this. But Patricia was gentle and patient. "Luna, can you tell me about your mama?" Patricia asked during one of their meetings. "My mama is the best mama in the whole world." Luna said seriously, "She reads me stories and helps me with my letters. And she's not scared anymore like she used to be." "What do you mean, she's not scared anymore?" Luna thought for a moment. "At the old house, Mama used to cry when she thought I was sleeping. But at Rose's house, Mama smiles. And she teaches me new English words every day." During the court proceedings, Maria continued going to her English classes and helping Rose around the house. Luna started kindergarten at the local elementary school, where she quickly made friends and impressed her teacher with how smart she was. One evening, after a particularly difficult day in court, Maria sat in Rose's kitchen feeling defeated. "What if we lose?" she asked Rosa. What if they make Luna go back to Diego? Rosa took Maria's hands in hers. Listen to me, Mija. You are not the same scared woman who knocked on my door 2 months ago. You have learned to speak up for yourself. You have made friends and built a community. You have shown Luna what it looks like to be strong, no matter what happens in that courtroom. You have already won the most important battle. Maria looked around Rosa's kitchen, where Luna's drawings were stuck to the refrigerator and where she had learned to make Rosa's famous soup recipe. This little house had become the first real home she had ever known in America. You're right, Maria said, feeling a new kind of strength growing inside her. Whatever happens tomorrow, Luna and I will face it together. And we'll never be the same frightened people we used to be. Outside, winter was settling in. But inside the warm kitchen, 3 generations of strong women were preparing to face whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. The courthouse was packed on the day of the final hearing. Maria sat between Lisa and Rosa, her heart beating so fast she thought everyone could hear it. Luna was at school, which Maria was grateful for. Whatever happened today, she didn't want her daughter to see her mother's fear. Judge Williams had been hearing their case for 3 months now. She was a stern but fair woman who had listened carefully to every piece of evidence, every witness, every argument from both sides. Today, she would make the decision that would change Maria and Luna's lives forever. After reviewing all the evidence presented in this case, Judge Williams began. I find that Maria Rodriguez has proven her claims of domestic violence. The protection order will remain in place permanently. Maria felt Rosa squeeze her hand, but she hardly dared to breathe yet. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm awarding primary custody of Luna Rodriguez to her mother, Maria Rodriguez. The child will remain in her current living situation, which has proven to be stable and beneficial to her well-being. Maria's legs felt weak with relief. She had won. Luna would stay with her. They were safe. But Judge Williams wasn't finished. Additionally, I am approving Maria Rodriguez's application for legal residency. Under the Violence Against Women Act, she and her daughter will be allowed to remain in the United States and pursue citizenship when eligible. This time, Maria couldn't hold back her tears. Lisa hugged her. Rosa cried happy tears. And even the stern judge smiled slightly from her bench outside the courthouse. Maria felt like she was walking in a dream. The sun seemed brighter, the air felt cleaner, and for the first time in years, the future looked full of possibilities instead of fears. We did it, Mija, Rosa said, still holding Maria's hand. You did it? No, Maria said, looking at this woman who had become like a mother. To her, we did it together. 6 months later, Maria was standing in front of her very own classroom for the first time. After months of studying and taking tests, she had gotten her teaching certificate recognized in America. The principal at Luna's elementary school had offered her a job as a bilingual teacher's aide, helping other immigrant children who were just learning English. Good morning, class, Maria said to the group of nervous-looking children in front of her. My name is Miss Maria, and I'm here to help you learn English. But first, I want you to know something important. I was scared to speak English too. When I first came to America, a little boy named Carlos raised his hand. Really? But you speak English so good now? Maria smiled. Very well, Carlos. And yes, really. 3 years ago, I could barely say hello. But with practice and patience, you can learn anything. As she helped the children with their lessons, Maria thought about how much her life had changed. Luna was thriving in 2nd grade, speaking both English and Spanish fluently and helping Maria teach other children Spanish words. During their evening homework time, Rosa had become Luna's official grandmother in every way that mattered. She came to every school event, every parent-teacher conference, and every little celebration they had at home. The 3 of them had created their own special family. But perhaps the most meaningful part of Maria's new life was the work she did at the community center on weekends. She had started a support group for immigrant women who were facing difficult situations. Every Saturday morning, women would gather in the same room where Maria had first learned to speak English. and they would share their stories, their fears, and their hopes. "I know it feels impossible," Maria would tell them. "I know. It feels like you have no choices, no power, no voice. I felt that way too. But you are stronger than you know, and you don't have to face your problems alone." Carmen, who had become one of Maria's closest friends, often marveled at the transformation. "Maria, do you remember that first night you came to register for English class? You were so scared you could barely speak above a whisper." "I remember," Maria said. "But I also remember you telling me that this was a place where I could grow." You were right. 1 year after the court case, Maria received a letter that made her cry happy tears. It was her official permanent residence card, her green card. She was no longer living in fear of being sent away. America was officially her home now. That evening, she showed the card to Luna, who was now 7 years old and reading chapter books in both languages. "Mama, does this mean we never have to leave Rose's house?" Luna asked. "Well, we might move to our own apartment someday," Maria said. "But we'll always be Rose's family. And this will always be our home neighborhood." Luna thought about this. "Seriously, I like it here. All my friends are here, in my school, and Rosa makes the best cookies." "Yes, she does," Maria agreed, laughing. 2 years later, Maria stood in Luna's school auditorium watching her daughter receive an award for academic excellence. Luna had just finished 3rd grade with perfect marks in both English and Spanish. Reading died as Luna walked across the stage to receive her certificate. She spotted her mama and Rosa in the audience and waved excitedly. Maria waved back, remembering that terrifying night when she had knocked on Rosa's door with nothing but hope and desperation. Now, as she watched her confident, happy daughter on stage, Maria realized that sometimes the scariest moments in life lead to the most beautiful new beginnings. That rainy night had felt like the end of everything, but it had actually been the start of the life she had always dreamed of. After the ceremony, Luna ran to her mother and Rosa, chattering excitedly about her summer plans and the books she wanted to read. "Mama," Luna said as they walked to the car, switching to Spanish like she always did when she had something important to say. "I'm proud of you for being so brave." Maria stopped walking and looked down at her daughter, this amazing little girl, who had survived so much and grown up to be kind and strong and full of dreams. "I'm proud of you too, mi amor," Maria said. "And you know what? I think we're just getting started." As they drove home through their neighborhood, their real neighborhood, where they belonged and were loved, Maria knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, she and Luna would face them together, surrounded by the community that had helped them build this beautiful new life.